man's seed is not just biological material, it is condensed intention. When it is spent without thought, the body stays busy recovering, the mind stays distracted, and awareness stays fragmented. When it is conserved, something reverses. Energy that once leaked outward begins to circulate inward. The nervous system calms, attention sharpens, and effort starts to feel lighter. This is why masters of sexual energy move differently through life. They are not forcing outcomes or chasing relief. They are stable. Negative frequency is born from constant loss, craving, and inner noise. It keeps the mind locked in reaction and the body locked in recovery mode. Retention interrupts that loop. The internal signal shifts from depletion to coherence, and coherence is what the universe responds to. Not as a favor, but as alignment. Universal reward does not arrive as fireworks or sudden miracles. It arrives as timing that works, people who respond, and effort that multiplies instead of drains. When sexual energy is mastered, the brain exits survival chasing and enters long-range orientation. Section 1. Temperance Virtue. Temperance has always meant command, not suppression. Semen retention trains that command at the deepest level, because sexual desire is one of the strongest drives in the human system. When a man learns to guide that force instead of being pulled by it, something fundamental shifts. The nervous system settles, attention becomes steady, and the mind gains space between impulse and action. Psychology shows that self-control in one domain spills into others. The same circuits that pause desire also pause anger, fear, and rash decisions. This is why temperance was treated as a core virtue. It was never about being rigid. It was about becoming reliable. A man who can govern his strongest urge can govern smaller ones with ease. And that reliability is the base of real power. Ancient cultures understood this long before modern science gave it names. Greek thinkers linked temperance to wisdom, because appetite clouds judgment when it runs unchecked. Stoics taught restraint because a man ruled by urges cannot be ruled by reason. Christian monastic orders treated sexual discipline as preparation for service and leadership, not as punishment. Eastern traditions observed that conserving sexual energy sharpened focus and inner strength. Across history, the pattern repeats. Men who mastered appetite were trusted with responsibility. Biology supports this observation. Delayed gratification strengthens neural pathways tied to patience and long-term planning. Over time, the body learns calm under pressure, the mind learns to wait. Courage grows not from force, but from stability inside the storm. The true reward of temperance is order. When desire listens to reason, inner conflict fades, decisions stop pulling in opposite directions. This internal alignment changes how life responds to you. Opportunities stick because you are consistent. People rely on you because your behavior does not swing with mood. Influence increases because your presence feels safe and grounded. The universe does not reward noise. It responds to coherence. Semen retention builds that coherence by teaching desire where it belongs. Once appetite falls into place, leadership becomes natural. Stability becomes your baseline. From that state, life opens doors not through luck, but through trust earned at the deepest level. Section 2. Eudaimonia. Eudaimonia was never about feeling good in the moment. In Aristotelian thought, it described a life that works, a life where actions match the highest function of a human being. Retention points directly toward this state, because it forces a shift away from chasing relief and toward building capacity. When sexual energy is no longer spent automatically, the mind starts asking different questions. Instead of asking what feels good now, it asks what is worth building. Psychology shows that meaning grows when effort is directed toward long-term aims rather than short bursts of pleasure. Retention strengthens this orientation by removing one of the strongest distractions. The result is not boredom, but clarity. A man begins to sense when his actions align with something larger than impulse. Masters of sexual energy feel this change quietly but unmistakably. Short-term gratification loses its grip, not through force, but through replacement. Fulfillment starts coming from progress, responsibility, and self-respect. Biology supports this transition. When reward systems are no longer flooded, motivation becomes steadier and less fragile. Work feels different because it is no longer a way to escape discomfort. It becomes an expression of capability. Ancient thinkers described this as flourishing because the person is doing what they are built to do. Effort feels heavy at times, but never empty. Even struggle carries meaning because it points somewhere. This is why men practicing restraint often report a deeper satisfaction that pleasure alone never delivered. The reward here is subtle but permanent. Life begins to feel correct, even when it is demanding. You wake up with a sense that your energy is pointed in the right direction. Choices stop fighting each other. Purpose replaces restlessness. Aristotle believed this state could not be handed to someone. It had to be lived into through virtue and discipline. Retention accelerates that process by aligning desire with reason. As that alignment settles in, the need for external validation fades. You do not feel lucky. You feel aligned. That feeling of rightness is the eternal reward, one that does not depend on outcomes, only on how faithfully you live your function. Section 3. Self-mastery. Self-mastery has always stood at the center of philosophy and warrior codes. From Stoic thinkers to martial traditions that trained restraint before combat, it means governing your inner state before trying to influence anything outside yourself. Retention strengthens this capacity in a direct way, because sexual energy is the most persistent impulse most men encounter. When that force no longer dictates behavior, something fundamental shifts. Psychology shows that self-command grows when delayed gratification becomes normal rather than forced. The mind stops negotiating with urges and starts issuing clear instructions. Ancient cultures saw this as the birth of a ruler within, not a tyrant, but a steady guide. Control here is not rigid, it is calm. The ability to remain composed while desire rises is the same skill that allows a man to remain composed under pressure, risk, and responsibility. Once that internal authority forms, weaker temptations lose their pull without a fight. Junk habits, empty distractions, and emotional reactions no longer feel urgent. Biology explains part of this shift. When impulse circuits are no longer overstimulated, higher decision centers regain strength and timing improves. The body feels less chaotic, and the mind feels less divided. Warrior traditions train this state deliberately, because a man who cannot command himself becomes a liability in moments that matter. Retention accelerates the same lesson in modern life. You begin choosing actions based on values rather than moods. Each choice reinforces the next one. Momentum builds quietly. The sense of inner alignment grows stronger than any craving that once felt overwhelming. Order attracts order. This is why disciplined men seem to move forward with fewer obstacles. The universe does not reward chaos because chaos multiplies problems. Self-mastery reduces friction at every level. Decisions become cleaner. Relationships stabilize. Work gains direction. Respect follows naturally because people trust those who trust themselves. Ancient philosophy framed this as harmony between reason and desire. Psychology calls it executive control. Warrior cultures called it readiness. Different words point to the same outcome. When a man governs his strongest impulse, he becomes reliable. That reliability creates clarity, and clarity creates momentum. The reward is not given as a gift. It emerges as a response to the order you now bring into the world.